Hello, everybody, and welcome to Our Place in Sicily. This is a big catch-up day, design date with our friend Jennifer. And Jennifer, I'm going to pop you in. Hello. I've been missing
like
you.
Weirdo in color. Hello.
I know. We should decide. We should just do like a black and a white versus color, and then mid-time we can switch.
No, what I love is the longer you live in Italy, the more you're like looking like an Italian. I told her I want her to be holding a basket with some loaves of bread next.
I'm totally going to come full in costume, regional costume, every time I come, something different. It's so good to see you. You have been all over the world, left, right, US, since we last talked. I know we told people we might be talking as much as once a week. We actually do check in once a week, but it's usually to say one of us is busy.
That is how we do it, because I went to Europe with my child to have fun, which was so good for my creative brain. I understand why you live there. I just loved it. And it's funny, like I thought for sure Paris and Nice were not going to be my favorites, but I actually really had a good time. There's something to be said for just the European way of life and the joy of life that I just totally dig. And then we had some filming adventures and makeovers for veterans and all that good stuff. So now I'm just haggard and tired. But really and truly, the fun part is watching your videos pop up. And like, one, I appreciate your thoughtfulness that you're trying to tell the people that are purists in remodels the whys of what things are going on, because it's so easy to say I would not touch that. However, when you're talking earthquake safe, when you're talking about future restoration so things don't continue to deteriorate, then it's really a whole different mindset. And I think you're really lucky that you're able to do this slowly and thoughtfully to do it right, because most people would have freaked out, sold that sucker, and left. So I am really proud of you, because you don't freak out. You take it really well. And that is the right way, but it's very scary for people.
For everybody that's watching, we are going to try to make this a little more structured for you, which will also give us some structure. We might do some talking offline, mostly about family, friends, velvet, I don't know, old material, whatever. But for the most part, we're going to try to keep this easy so we can, as we have these times together, we can share them. And so, Jen, do you want to start the first part for me?
Well, one, I saw your video about the hidden arches that you guys uncovered as you were doing demo. And it was fun because as you share stuff, I watch people's reactions, but I'm a massive fan of the arches. I just think they add such a softness that's needed. I also like that they're accurate to the house, that they were closed up and covered away. So if they can come out and live their true, authentic life, I think we should keep them. I think you're game to keep them. I'm definitely game to keep them. I just think they make it a more interesting place. And I can understand why they closed them up or simplified due to probably not needing to do custom doors or things like that. Right. But I think they need to live again. So
So I love this as sort of your design inspiration.
Part of the journey I think you have compared to what, like if you were remodeling in America is, it sounds really dumb to say, but the house will tell you what it wants. You will uncover it. You will see the story. It's like when I watch a remodel in England and they tear up the flooring and then they have this beautiful tile work that someday someone decided they were sick of it, or a cast iron fireplace, and then it's living again. So I think it's just, you had so many layers you had to pull back to get to that. And I will admit, I watched those demo videos and I was like, oh, like I thought I was going to get a panic call from you, and I didn't. So no, I haven't had it. If anyone's watching this and you're doing it, I think the insight I would give from as a professional is, what Jenn has done is surround herself with people who are locals and who know what they're facing, and they're in it for the long haul. It's not a blow and go contractor or architect who is just in it for the income. They're in it for the story, the history, and the fun of the journey. That's the difference.
Yeah. I agree, and it's funny. The scary thing that's been a lot of the comments too, and there's been a lot of like the personal phone calls with people I've had in the last so many
They're like,
days.
"Are you crazy?"
But yeah, so it is scary at first, but mostly I'm so nerdy about what's behind the walls, and
Yeah.
it's so different than anything I've ever done before that when I saw those,
I think it's different than what anyone has ever done before. Like, let's face it, like,
yeah,
this is what TV shows are made of because they're like, there's that one like chateau in the countryside, but they're knocked down to like what you did. Like,
yeah.
they're like, let's go to the seaside and make a Christmas dinner out of these little muscles we got.
Oh, I
You're
look forward to the day I
let's
can do that.
let's
But
walk over this 4 foot of rubble and let me tell you what it's going to look like. It's
yeah,
funny because I catch up to you and where your brain is. And how I look at it is I'm catching up, and then once we're ready, we'll hit the ground running
yeah,
as you're living through this part of it. So we're today. My goal is we start talking about what is that impacted timeline from the reality you just faced, and then maybe how things evolve because we can distract you with fun stuff. I'm really a
yeah.
big fan of wanting us to focus on local craftsmen, so doing some of that
Great.
reconnaissance now
I
that
love
you've
it.
got this Sicilian adventure.
Well, this is a great segue into our next segment, which is Jen's best and worst. This, if people have watched before, is our guest house slides. This has been great. I've been working actually on the main house more because the best news is they demoed so much. So you can see the light gray walls in here. Those
Mhm.
are non-structural walls that either exist like this one or we were going to put in, but they took out this wall, this wall, this wall, and this wall, and this wall here. And all of a sudden I had 4 feet. They've now taken the ceiling out of here and here. But it was funny because I was there. I had seen it before I talked to the architect. I wasn't really sure why they took down this bathroom wall. And I did know why they took this one down, but I didn't remember at first. So I was just sort of like, I wonder, my biggest fear is always when I am afraid, it's like, oh no, did they see something? Did they not mean to take that down, but something bad happened? Or, because it just, if I don't know about it. And sometimes I was told, but I was told in Italian. So,
Quick question. Everyone's wondering this. Like, do you feel like you're Tom Hanks in the Money Pit?
oh my gosh. I should watch that again and respond. Maybe I'll do it like Jen react.
Patiently long. It will make you laugh, and maybe it's a comparison video side by side. But it is funny because
Yeah.
walls are out in the movie like that. But
Yeah.
you and I had talked and designed and planned based around the original walls and concepts. So it's funny now. And it was
Mm-hmm.
disjointed and tight and small, and it was making do with the floor plan
Yep.
that they had. So now this new freedom is
Yeah.
beautiful.
And this will tie in totally. My best and worst are going to tie into your inspiration and those arches. So if anybody's seen the video, and I will pop in the video of that tour here too. But there's an arch above this window, above this door, and from here to about here, they've obviously filled in the arch here, and you see them standing here, looking in this direction. But I went in and saw this and I was like, "Oh, we have to come back. We didn't have a long time." I'm like, "We have to come back this weekend, Matt, and make a whole new plan because walls have changed." And within like 3 hours, I got a text from the builder. I'm sorry, the architect, Igor, and he was like, "And we should rethink your flooring or your floor plan because we're not um, we're not tied
I,
into that now."
yeah.
And so it was so interesting because I was so motivated. Matt and I started drawing things. We were like, what can we move to the front that doesn't need a window, it just needs the door? We just started thinking about everything. I drew a bunch of pictures on that video. I think I've got like a few different pictures I went through. And then I would show Igor and he'd be like, yeah, but how about such and such, and it was so great because one, even if he's not using my design, I'm thinking deeply about it. And I would recommend for people, like, you can use tracing paper or a piece of printer paper on a window and just copy things. You can take a picture of them. There's lots of ways. You don't have to be an artist to do these things, and then just sort of sketch out things, or use some graph paper or whatever. Because I have really become intimate with this space. And so most recently, I had drawn something and I was able to rearrange things and add an ensuite bathroom to the bedroom.
Dying to know how that got fit in there.
Well, so it's coming over here, but the whole thing doesn't matter because it's changing. But what I did tell Igor is you can change it, but I'm basically had drawn something that made this room for sure. We could bump this out. And we were able to stick a bed in here. So it was for sure a bedroom, and I didn't have to do a Murphy's bed or anything.
Yep.
And we were able to add a bathroom here. And I was like, you can do whatever you want, but it has to have another bathroom now because I know it will fit. Because it's a really weird layout. It's just like long, it's like designing a curved shotgun house. It's just straight. Yeah. So I can't wait to see his design.
Like a Matrix bullet instead of a shotgun house. It's like Keanu.
Exactly. Exactly. So one of the things that Igor, I can't wait to see, and he might not even put it here, but his thing is you should use this wall for your kitchen. And immediately after that, I saw another designer on TikTok say, use the most boring wall in your house for the kitchen because you get wall space to use. And this put it in the center of the house. And he's got he said, well, I said, well, this space is really where I want to have the outdoor kitchen. He's like, here or in the garden? He's like, because this we could make the bedroom, the bathroom, and the studio, and you have your own private bedroom sort of terrace because this is up high. This is about 5 feet higher. And then off the kitchen, we can put our walkway, which we were already putting here anyways, and you can have a walkway back to a full outdoor kitchen. So, just would go there. And so you have this opportunity to look out to the sea from the bedroom maybe.
Yep.
And you have your kitchen is in good use of space.
Sorry to interrupt. Don't you think that's a different, Europeans are very good about that outdoor life becoming designed into the indoor life. We're catching up as a culture, but it's just expected in Italy. Of course you're going to have an outdoor terrace and little kitchen off
every roof, almost every roof in Sicily is an outdoor terrace. It's funny, they make sure they build them. I don't necessarily see them on them, but in the US, maybe you'll see it in brownstones in New York or in Boston, but you automatically they're you have a roof, it's going to be flat, there's going to be a terrace on it. Any space we can make an outside space, they do it. And then we talked about, so this would be a walkway. And here in this strip, this is in the main garden, we're thinking, I wanted a bocce ball court to play lawn bowling.
I want to play bocce ball.
I'm so excited. Okay, now we've discussed, I don't know if I've talked to you about the Sabbia dell'Etna. Sabbia is sand, and Sabbia dell'Etna is the sand of Etna. So Etna has been doing beautiful dances. Everybody's safe. It's not a challenge, but when she does that, if it's windy, she blows. It's not like she's shooting it. She's just shooting it in the air. But if we bring wind from Africa, it'll blow it like Catania was covered in this much sand. And they've got a whole way of getting rid of it, but you have to sweep it or whatever. And so we decided we wanted a sand one. And then Igor was like, you could have the only volcanic sand bocce ball, Mt Etna sand court. And every time we have to sweep up, we can replenish this. We don't have to buy sand. So we're super, super excited about that. Now I got to find a really cool old bocce ball set. But so I have no idea how this is going to go, but we got another bathroom. So my best is another bathroom. My worst is I have another bathroom and I don't know how this is going to lay out. I can't plan any this entire house right now until
Did Igor want the other bathroom or you want the other bathroom or both?
Well, I wanted the other bathroom, and here's why. And Igor actually did make a point this week. He said, are you designing this to the same level that you're designing your house, like for you to live in, because you're renting this out. And I was like, you know what? You've got a really good point. And in some ways, I have to keep reminding Matt that this is just going to be a temporary house for us, like maybe a year, but not like forever. We would have family staying here, or we may rent out the whole house.
Right. It's a revenue stream.
Yeah. So it needs to match the other part of the house a little bit in the level of luxury. And this not luxury as in like gold toilets. It's as in like what you're used to sort of in the United States. So it'll have a dryer. Yeah. That's a luxury in Sicily. It'll have a decent sized shower, not like one where you're in like showering in a phone booth. Just little things like that.
Now that you're redoing it, would you ever make the bathroom like those whole wet rooms where you don't have to necessarily have a smaller shower? The whole room can be like a wet room, and then that way it makes your smaller bathrooms feel bigger.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely open for pretty much most of the bathrooms, because I think it's a really interesting thing. What basically I told him was, one of the bathrooms I have to be able to use, one of the 2 bathrooms in here, I have to be able to use all the custom tile I already had ordered.
Yes, yes. That was one of my questions, but it's awesome. And you had already picked it, bought it, all that. And
it's sitting there ready to be used. It's really beautiful. And there should be no problem, because I was able to move it and keep it the same square footage and the same size so that we can do that. Yeah. So that shouldn't be a problem. It's just, so this is, again, a takeaway for people who are watching. You know, I said, you can do anything, but I need a bathroom, and one of the bathrooms has to still work because I've already invested way too much money on those tiles. Yep. And, you know, we need the other studio to be big enough to be an actual bedroom. And there's a certain square footage that says it's a legal bedroom. And so it can't be a bedroom for 2. It has to be a single bedroom, because we'd have to add a significant amount of square footage. But I said, otherwise, go for it. And when we talked this week, I also said, I hear what you're saying about, am I doing too much to make it too comfortable for like somebody who's going to live there forever? I said, you are thinking of those things. I want you to work in the way you're suggesting. And I'm probably gonna have to change a couple things, but I'll only have to change a couple things as opposed to you undoing all of my things. So go for it. You give me the full vision that you're gonna do. This is the partnership team. It's now back on you. And I'll say, you know what? It really does need to have a dryer, or I really do need a bigger shower.
You trust your team, and that's very important. And not everyone does that. I always laugh when people hire me and then they don't listen to me. And I'm like, one, it takes the steam out of creatives' joy in the creative process. And then 2, it always makes it harder than it needs to be.
Yeah, I'm very excited. My worst is just that there so much is in chaos right now. I'm having trouble. Like, I actually did sit and work on our Google Sheet and our Google slides today, but I'd been putting it off because I'm like, I don't know, the 2 kitchens are becoming 1 kitchen. This is all becoming all sort of different. I don't know what to do, but I was like,
my advice is, when it happens like this and you pause and the foundation concept evolves on such a massive scale, we pause and let them do their thing. Meanwhile, we can still get aesthetic inspiration, but we're kind of at a standstill, because why waste time if it's not going to be realistic? And it's got to like fit the space. What I would like to do though is, as things are unfolding and they're saying, hey, this is going to add this much time, I'd like an updated calendar. So, and then we can start kind of putting placeholders for finishes that you and I want to have decisions done by, so you stay ahead of the game. That I think will take the worry out of it. And plus, you and I can still have fun with lighting and vibes and all of that. I just think we don't get too specific until we know what the parameters of the space is.
The next sort of segment we have is an update. So we've sort of given an update already, but I'm going to give you the lowdown. So where we are now is getting ready to start. It's funny. We're getting ready to start the roof, but we're not going to start the roof. So we have been doing demo for the last 2 weeks. We have recently put up a video about like everything that's been demoed. They're finishing that up right now and removing all of the rubble. One of the big expenses is throwing away that rubble. It's like, I don't know, 7 euro cent per kilogram.
Oh my
It's a
gosh,
lot of
that's a
kilograms.
lot of rubble.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot. So they're doing that, and for the most part, wheelbarrow by wheelbarrow. And then once they've got it all clean, they're going to put on essentially like one of those metal roofs. And that's going to be sort of the watertight. I should see if I can find a picture, and I'll pop it up here, of like how you can see light through our roof. So we're going to make it watertight. In order to do that, we need to add some structural reinforcement, because we're going to add something more than was there. And by the way, after we put the metal on, then we put the old tiles back on, so it looks the same as everybody else. But it's
And
watertight.
you saved all the original tiles.
They haven't taken them off yet, but yes, they're saving all the original tiles, and they'll just use new ones upside down. So the tiles fit sort of like, if people don't know, it's like a curve, and one over and one under. So they'll, if they have to replace new ones, they'll do them under so you can't see.
So impressive. And it's so much more thoughtful to try and save.
It's going to be great. So, so roof, but first we need to put on a cement beam that's going to support the roof. Before we can put the cement beam on, we need to strengthen the walls. So all of that video that we have been doing has been showing them pulling off the top layer of stucco, so getting it down to stone, and then taking down some of the non-structural walls that we're either putting something else up in their place, or it's too difficult to work around them, and they're more modern, and they didn't use the the best equipment or the best materials. So we're just fixing that stuff. But they've been working around all of the beautiful ceilings and being very careful, and taking all that. And so we're kind of on a different timeline. Originally, the goal was to just spend 2 months, get into the guest house, and then live there while they did all the rest of this. But because of
I don't mean to laugh, but oh my gosh, your timeline's changed.
Yeah, I know. When you were like, when we both go back and forth and we haven't had time to talk, you're like, I'm kind of busy right now. Or I call you and like, I'm kind of busy. I can't really do a thing. I'm thinking we now have 18 months to figure this out instead of 6 months. So we're good. We got time. We don't have to rush this. Yeah, so that's the general update. I would say, and it sounds like you've already given me some ideas, but it's like, what do we work on? And now it's very important. You had said something, I think, in our first meeting, the first time we talked, which is like, what is your budget? And I was like, budget. And we do have control over our own budget, like what I want to pay for toilets and what I want to pay for sinks and faucets, and what do I want to pay per bedroom for what we're going to do. And so I need some guidance on sort of how to encapsulate all that and how to decide what I'm focusing on when.
In terms of the items that go in the rooms, you approach your thoughts as a homeowner like an artist. So when you say, Jen, this is what makes me happy when I'm thinking about this, or I found this vintage chandelier and I like this. Part of it will be happenstance of what you find and fall in love with. So part of it is that. But I think we could use this time to really go in and start finding local craftsmen in Sicily, the tile makers. Maybe it's someone who can turn something vintage into a light and we make it. The mural artist, because I know you want to tell that story. And even if it happens layered over time and isn't part of phase 1 or whatever, I do think we still set it as the vibe and the tone. And since I approach design like an artist too, I mean, that works really great. But let's start to, what is the flow of the house? Is it that, let's say, for example, in one kitchen, the garden and lemons play a role. Okay, that's what it is. And then I go to this and the green plays my role. So as the floor plan lands, I think we're going to do our color story. Then it's the thoughtful vibe. I was catching up to you on the old guest house design because you had already done it and then brought me in. Whereas now I think we're a little bit now on the same boat minus the things already purchased, like the tiles. But I think we could start to have fun with, well, what is the story you want to tell? Is it a love story to Sicily and the local people? Is it a love story to all of Italy? Because Northern Italy is different from Southern Italy and all of that. So, or the Amalfi Coast and the pottery. And so I think it's you and I digging into, what story are you telling? Because is it just about Sicily or is it all of Italy? And I know you're going to have American comfortabilities and certain standards, which I think is great for anyone visiting. I don't think anyone will complain, and you might influence your neighbors, but you're doing it in such a thoughtful way. But do you know off the top of your head which part of Italy you're loving on? Is it southern? Is it Sicily? Is it all of it?
So I would say where I can do Sicilian, I'm doing Sicilian. There's not everything, like I don't think I'm going to find like a Sicilian appliance maker. So then when possible, I go Italy. And when that's not possible, I go European Union.
Yeah.
And for the most part, if it's something new, I'm trying not to, I'm bringing enough stuff. I'm the thing that's going to be in there from the United States. I don't need to necessarily import that unless it's like, nobody makes this here. It's only like, I don't know, like if I had a specific bedspread down comforter that I liked that was only made there, then maybe for my own personal comfort, I would bring that. But the goal is like, that would be the last thing I would do. Well, this is like a good transition. We're learning, guys. We're learning how to make our transitions from our different groups. So this is like a good transition from my update to sort of what we're working on today. I'm sort of calling it our workshopping. So I think we can continue talking about this. And before we're done, we'll give everybody a little homework, not homework, but like a takeaway for you guys. And you'll give me homework to do. So yeah, I think we can move right into what do we want to talk about for today?
So for me, I mean, honestly, what I have to do is pause and wait for the floor plans. I need floor plans because I like to deal in concrete. I hate to waste my time. I don't want to dream something up and it not happen. I appreciate it and it's fun, but I also am a big fan of just answer solutions. People always think I'm the weirdo right brain, but I have a left brain logic to me that's just like, let's not waste time and let's do it. However, there are certain things we know we're going to need. We're going to need appliances or toilets or whatever. For the guest house, a lot of that you already had. So now it's just redefining what you had. Things we didn't have were the cabinets weren't solid, the countertops weren't solid. So yeah. Oh my God. Could you imagine? Well, you would have made it work. I mean,
well, even better that we've waited. It took long enough that, we had decided, I think you and I talked about this last time, that we're going to do custom cabinets because they're kind of the same price as getting nicer cabinets here.
And like if we want to do a colored wood stain or we want to embed some brass or, we can just really start to do some of those unique features. Now, one thing I've learned from all my projects is everyone always starts off so gung-ho, full steam. They'll spend money in the beginning. As the project goes, they're more stressed out about money. I mean, it happens with everyone, all projects for the most part. And then I just want to make sure that the key features when you get towards the end of the project aren't those things that, oh, now we got to worry about budget or whatever. Because I mean, you are taking on a massive undertaking
that we hadn't planned on. Try to make clear. I was trying to buy a little 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. Casa. Oops. I accidentally bought a Palazzo.
I know. Is my internet poopy? Will you tell me if it is?
Okay, great.
You know what I call these calls like this? Because it's not really only about design. A remodel, a construction project, a lot of it is about wellness checks as well. How are you doing mentally? Because before we hopped on to film, I asked her, like, are you doing okay? Because she was facing big adventures. And I always like to know if my clients are like, everyone has breakdowns, like any project. I always say 2 to 3. So like on this one, she's probably guaranteed like 5 to 6 because it's a large
Probably.
project.
Yeah.
I love a good breakdown. I'll make you
Yeah.
feel good. If you ugly
Nice.
cry, high five you. Like, all of that.
Excellent.
But because Matt is also not on here, he's the unsung person in the background. So it's
Very much.
also gauging the dynamic of a couple on how they deal with it. So if I were watching and doing a project, I'd want to know, like, a lot of times people always hear designers say we're counselors or things like this. So, Jenn takes it really well. I don't know Matt yet, but he seems logical. And I think he probably is like, if Jenn's fine, I'm fine. Like he just kind of gauges it. If she's stressed, he'll start stressing because she's usually calm in situations. For the most part, the hardest part is people deal with stress differently. So as a couple, when you're doing that in a remodel, how you balance each other as you're doing that process. And part of it is people like designers and stuff. We help you because we tell you when to truly worry, when I'm worried for you. A lot of times people are freaking out over things where I'm like, you're fine. I've seen worse. Like, you're going to be okay. And that's why having professionals around you really help you in your sanity on these kind of projects.
Yeah. And I would say it's funny, both you and I've worked with this neuro language coach. She is fantastic and teaches Italian, helps me with my Italian in the way that my brain works. And your brain actually already works like my brain works. So I don't know if you have to do anything special to work with me, but you guys are in my head when I don't know if I will crash and have these crashes or not, because you are constantly in my head. And she's like, always in my head when I'm stressed out about speaking Italian in a place. And she was always like, step aside, get a glass of wine, or take a deep breath and imagine you have a glass of wine in your hand. Just speak. Like, they're going to be so happy, like, so I just hear you guys talking. I hear like, oh, I don't know what to work on. And then I was like, just start with what you know. Like when I was working on the documents today, I was like, I do know stuff because I know things I've got. I was like grabbing pictures from Pinterest. I was in the mood to do it. I find I have to be in the mood, and then it's a joy and not force it. So it's nice that we have a lot of time.
I think our next step will be to almost map out the house as a feeling. It sounds dumb, but like,
I like
I want the pictures of the frescoes with the rooms on slides. So I like even just a looking up picture, because then that can set the tone of color. So even then we know those things. So I would like pictures of all frescoes on there. We can start to create our palette and set the tone. So when you do go shopping for things, you already know what we're looking for. Then your other homework is, I want a shopping list of craftsmen from Sicily. So go be the Americani and go make friends. I'd like a little library on our slideshow of, this is so-and-so, they're a tile maker, here's their website or Instagram. I'm guessing not as many will have Instagram, or here's a photo of inside their shop. So then I can see how they work. And then I think you and I had talked about this long ago. I was a ceramics emphasis. My mom was a sculptor. So like, and I've hand painted tiles and painted them in ovens and done murals. So like, it'll be fun to work with craftsmen to create that. I think the other thing to think about is, so like we don't have to necessarily do wallpapers, but big murals, like painted into wet plaster that is life size and stuff like that, or tile mosaics that are full concepts and not just individual tiles. So it becomes all encompassing, that when they come to this place, you see those dining rooms where they have the like etching like papers. They're old to Italy. And they do that. But what is the Sicilian version of that? That story. I would also love if there's any like history or story of the areas that, let's say, makes sense for this palazzo. So let's say shipping is big in the area and it's known for going to do this, and the guys would come back. And I always just think there's certain stories. So is there any folklore that should start to pay attention? So if you start building this library, then even in our artwork purchased, it is an ode to the folklore.
Yeah, I love that.
Have fun. In America, they'd be like, that one's just about Susan. She left her husband. You know, really nothing exciting. So in Italy, we can be like, what is all that? Are those notes?
Okay, I forgot to share this with you.
I thought you were holding up a Subway sandwich.
No. So I have this new little tool called a NYX
thing. Yes.
Color thing, which I'm going to make a video for so people can see it. And I went around and recorded all the colors that were in the house before the walls were taken down. And I'd saved a piece of all of the wallpapers and documented them. But then they took the doors down. And when they took the doors down, there were other wallpapers behind the door trim.
Oh my gosh.
So I found all these other. You need to
have a little book.
Yeah. My daughter, who does conservation, was going to help me find a good, safe thing for this. But I'm saving it in case we need inspiration for something.
You cannot sit still. Let's just face it. Like you are a doer and it's hard for you.
Very hard.
Homework right now because I'm realistic that there's not much we can do until we know what we're doing. But you and I can meet lots about who are our craftsmen because we can start creating concepts of projects and installations. But if you can do the homework groundwork of the humans, we'll go from there. Then if you tell me, hey, I want to know whatever about this old paper, like American high-end designers bring in lots of European, like French hand-painted papers and stuff like that. But for you, I think it's just a little bit of a different journey because a lot of these are going to be the people that aren't known globally or nationally, or if they are, they're like a little secret weapon. I also would love like a leather craftsman. I love doing stuff with leather and steel. So if you could find us a metal worker, because a lot of times people don't understand how to do installation art. And since you appreciate, art as a concept, I think we could do art as a fun way, implementing it in. There are a lot of right answers. You can design one room a million different ways. You will never please everyone. Television has taught me that. Everyone will have an opinion. TikTok has taught me that. I just think in the end, this is about you and your family. This is about you loving on the local community, which you are doing so thoughtfully, and it's going to be great. And the right answers will happen. And what I love though, is when people write comments, you care to answer, you want people to be engaged, you want people on this journey, and it is going to be a journey. Like, I can't wait to see us cut from our conversations before to our conversations at the end. Because I've told Jenn, I'm committed. Like, even if this is the Sistine Chapel took 4 years to make, like, I'm in. It took like 11 or 12 to clean it. The Sistine Chapel, if you didn't know that. I'm committed to this. So we are in for this journey. And I think you and I will do our homework now of humans and people. Going to be a part of it. And then
tell me a little how I will also handle start the calendar process of this as well. What is your thought on that?
What we need to do is get what Igor and your construction managers timeline they're doing. So I've heard you say 18 months is added to the initial concept. So I'm old school. I just like to let's put in calendars into our slideshow. And we're going to do it. And we're going to say, if he says our end time to begin finishes is this, now let's work backwards. Because some of our concepts may require power in a certain area or things like that. So we've got to stay ahead of them before they think we really are going to start meddling. So I try to think way in advance to that. And I heard you say, like, some luxuries of dryers and things like that, the things that they may not hold as standard. So making sure we stay ahead of those kind of things too. I think when you say I'm not bringing things from America other than myself, but you are bringing some thoughtfulness that, we're a little gluttonous in the USA. We like to take care of
Yeah.
ourselves. And not that Italians don't, but we spoil ourselves with
Yeah.
certain things that they
I just
just.
want to take what Italians do to spoil themselves and add what Americans do to spoil themselves.
I
And
like the
be
way
more
Italians
spoiled.
spoil themselves. It's
Yeah.
a casual glass of
Yeah.
wine.
I'm agnostic to how you spoil yourself. I will accept all
Yes,
spoiling of selves, but I like it to
using
be
it.
thoughtful. And what I love it is when I get to give the tour of the house is what it keeps me going. And I get to say, check out this drawer.
I think the other thing that people don't realize is if at some point this ever becomes something you rent out to travelers or
Mhm.
people visiting, those are things you also have to keep in mind, different than if it's only
Right.
a permanent dwelling.
Right.
So, an Airbnb concept in a cool way is a whole different mindset because one, you're designing it commercial because it's got to
Right.
hold up. Two, you have every personality coming through. Three, you got to make different eyeballs fall in love with it in different ways.
Very true.
So it'll be
Yeah.
good.
Very true. Very
And
true.
in
Okay.
the end, you're going to be like, no one can visit. I'm living here. Just kidding.
Okay. So I want to give you homework, which is not one of our things. So we'll just leave it in
Yeah.
this little section. Your homework. Have you ever watched David Chang's show Dinner Time with David Chang? It's on Netflix. It goes live. It's like the first live
But I will.
show on Netflix. Okay, so here's what you
I
have to
watch
watch.
Swedish murder shows, so I will watch David Chang though.
So it basically cooks live for two. Usually it's like two comedians or an actor and a comedian or two actors, and it's usually hilarious. And he's doing it live in front, and he's got to get it done in an hour, and it's great. But the reason you're watching it is that the two guests are sitting sort of. He's behind behind the island counter, and they're on the opposite side, and they each have a little drawer of their utensils. And every single time, every single show, you can just watch any one of them. At some point, somebody will be like, I love my little drawer. And like every actress, actor, comedian is like, I love my little drawer. And it's like perfect. So if they're going to need chopsticks, there's chopsticks in it, whatever. So
You're gonna have a
what
little
thing
drawer.
we're thinking about for the island, because we might want to do cooking classes around that, is to figure out how around three sides of the thing to have a little drawer. Either two people share it or something, but you need to understand the concept first, because we've
Yeah.
fallen in love with it and we want to know if we could do it. And I know it's like far out in the kitchen, but it's something we could work
Yeah,
on.
but I love that. Those little thoughtful things are what matter. And I love it without even watching it, but I'll watch it still just to see everyone fall in love with it. But I love that. Those are fun details of design. That's the fun part of our job. Okay, I'll
Yeah.
watch the show. I'm a horrible
Okay.
cook. I just want you to know that, but I will try.
Not a problem. When you come, I'll cook for you.
Perfect.
All
Are we
right,
going to
so
end with some Italian?
we're gonna do takeaways. You got takeaways
Okay,
first for
takeaways.
our
You go
our
first.
So for me, I think the takeaway for people, I'm gonna go back all the way back to the beginning, which is get a piece of graph paper and just draw, like make one copy and then just draw over it. Make one copy on on graph paper and then put it in your printer and make copies of that and just draw things out. Draw them out. You don't have to be an architect. Just really understand your space. And even if this is just, for me, if it was just a bathroom, I'd like go, do I want the shower here? Do I want the shower there? Do I want this? Like you can get to the point where you're going to the room and taping out the lines. But I found really drawing this most recently out just in, I was using my iPad, but first I started on paper. And I think I'm going to super appreciate what Igor hands me, because it'll be better than mine. And I didn't come up with the idea, even though I tried to come up with the best idea ever. But you look at a space differently. So my takeaway is if you're working on a project, don't wait for the architect to draw. Just like get to know your space.
Oh, and don't be scared or intimidated by it.
Right.
I think that's part of where people think that you can't jump in with ideas. I mean, a good professional will, of course, listen to what you want. That's our job on it. My takeaways, I have two takeaways. One, I love getting excited and doing stuff, but don't waste your time until you have what you're supposed to be doing. We need a floor plan so we can design to that space. But then know that you can still have fun building up your arsenal of things you want to use. Just don't get committed to how you're going to use it till you see the space, because the space will tell you what needs to happen in it. And two, surround yourself with professionals who can tell you as a couple or as an individual when to worry, when to stress out, because we've been there. Like, I mean, I've been here 20 years doing this. So I've seen when to freak out and when not to. So we can help save you some heartache and make sure it's people you trust and love, because we're your friends and your guidance. And we, we'll tell you tough love and when to stress out. So
that's a really good, useful point. I think that's a fantastic takeaway.
I'll be like, now you can have a break
every week, every time.
I'll be like, this, you can get a breakdown. I was really impressed. You did not have a breakdown standing in rubble, because you're committed to the whole concept. Most people would have had a panic attack in a paper bag. So you did really great, and you're trusting the people you have. So I'm very excited to be on this journey.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that a lot. And those are great takeaways, people. I hope these are useful. And like, again, leave messages for us. Like, you can ask us questions and maybe we'll talk about, we'll add those in, because I'm probably going to go through every single design need ever in this house at some point. So don't be quiet. Don't be shy, guys. All right. Are you ready for your little Italian lesson?
I am.
Okay. So, it's one that I needed to study because I keep mixing up. It's funny. We have a different room for ceiling and roof, but in Italian, when I'm just pulling for a word, I keep using the wrong one. I keep saying the word for ceiling when it's roof and roof when it's ceiling. So the roof, which is the outside, is tetto, Tetto. And I will put that on the screen to tetto. So we're putting a new a tetto nuova, a new tetto nuovo on the top. But the ceilings in our house, which are painted, is called soffitto. So it has two F's and two T's. So when you say a double consonant, you hold it a little bit. So soffitto is our ceiling. So we are going to be protecting our soffitto when we put on our new tetto, and everybody who's watching this, when I put it up, we're going to put the words on here so you can see them. So that's our.
I love that. So when I lived in Italy, so I only remember a little, but I always laugh because obviously everyone knows ciao bella, come sta, molto bene, grazie. But I always would love, if you know how to order a local white or red wine, you're always golden. Vorrei un vino bianco per favore. And now you can correct me. It's been a long time. Or I would always know how to get in a taxi and go somewhere. But I love it. I can't wait to keep learning, keep teaching me. I already forgot those two words. Tito was roof, right?
Tetto?
Tetto.
I think of it sort of like a tent. A tetto. And soffitto, it's like a soffit. So soffitto.
You know what I think? Yeah. And learning a new language, you have to not be scared to sound like an idiot or domestic.
You have to sound like a 2-year forever.
Yeah. So tetto, you said?
Tetto.
And
tetto
soffitto.
And
Soffitto. And tetto. See, I'll keep saying it until I get it, and we will get it.
All right. Are you going to try out a goodbye? Are you going to try out an Italian goodbye?
Wasn't it ciao? Or is it?
I say ciao. Matt, there's arrivederci. There's.
I say arrivederci in America all the time. Arrivederci. Ciao. Ciao bello. Ciao bello.
Perfetto. Ciao, Jen.